Oh. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Paige Petty.
Oh wait. And Sammy.
Whorls, loops, and arches. These are all patterns. But of what? Fingerprints. In November of 2013, 26,000 fugitives were identified using the National Fingerprint System. And that's just in 1 month. Biometric Service Section, 2013, FBI.gov. I'm currently a forensic science major, and since fingerprints are used by forensic scientists to solve crimes, I would first like to tell you about the history of fingerprints, secondly, the issues of fingerprints and the solutions to them, those issues, and then thirdly, why fingerprints are important for identification. So now I'll tell you about the history. Before fingerprints, there was anthropometry, which you had to measure the body parts in 206 spots, but then they realized how inaccurate that is because of different standards of where to start the measurements at. And William Herschel came around, and he was the first one to recognize that fingerprints could be used for identification. Famously, 2014, slowhistoryonline.org. But the most important contributor was Francis Galton, because he was the first person that really investigated fingerprints, and he actually wrote the first book about them. Galton.org, 2014. But the most important event for fingerprints was the Rojas case. Detective Vositek was learning about fingerprints, and he found one at the scene, so he actually made the first conviction using fingerprints in the whole world. And after this case, he also made the first record system for fingerprints as well. Evans, 2007, Casebook of Forensic Detection. So now that I told you about the history, I will now tell you about the issues of fingerprints and the coordinating solutions. Partial fingerprints is an issue because you can't really pick out an individual person with that, but I also view it as a good thing because you eliminate the pool of suspects. And then another issue is the training. People don't collect them correctly, and then people evaluate them wrongly too. So a solution to that would be to create a mandatory certification for all agencies so they have the same standards. And now that I told you about the issues, now I'll tell you about the importance. There's 3 things genetically that are very important. They don't ever change, they're unique, and they're not hereditary. So even twins don't have matching fingerprints. And there's also the Locard's exchange principle, which with every form of contact leaves a trace. So fingerprints just leave another form of contact between the perpetrator and the victim. Locard's exchange principle, 2012, forensic-handbook.com. And another thing is that they're easily stored because they can be stored electronically, which makes the accessibility great between agencies. So today I told you about the history of fingerprints, the issues of fingerprints and their solutions, and importance of fingerprints in identification. I just want to mention that fingerprints is one of the only kinds of evidence that provides individual evidence if there's enough of it, and with the growing populations in cities, there's also growing crime rates. So fingerprints just provide another way to provide justice. Or, yeah. Thanks. Oh my god.